On elections, we've had several problems over the years, far too many years to even speak of here, with corrupt elections, rigged elections, to be straight to the point, on far too many reserves. We have asked Ottawa on many occasions to step in and please investigate some of these concerns. We get the same answer back over and over again. It's an internal problem. You have to deal with it yourself. We have two forms of election procedure on First Nations in Canada, and that is the Indian Act election, which is held every 2 years. And then we have band custom elections, which can go up to 4 years. And the bands develop their own rules and band custom. And INAC does not have much say in these elections. But we're still having problems, and we're having them year after year on far too many First Nations. To get to the top, many people will use almost any ways and means of getting elected, including bribery. This has to stop. Just recently we had an election in northern Manitoba on a very large First Nation, one deemed to be very progressive, yet the reserve is divided by big families, and it was evident during this past election. Some family members were band constables. They had actually roughed up some opposition members that were not supporting their family. Some band members were also employed in a welfare office and favored their own relatives above others. During the counting of the ballots, when the results came to, there was a loud cheer from one section of the room. The other opposition looked back, dirty looks, shouts. Security had to be called in to keep the two sides apart. This should never happen, but this is how powerful elections are on First Nation, on which family members are going to get in and benefit as a result of one of their relatives being elected to office. On another First Nation, we've had dead people on the voters list, and surprisingly, these dead people also voted. I also witnessed a while back on my own reserve where a questionable electoral officer came onto our reserve, unescorted, no scrutineers, with an IGA bag full of ballots from off-reserve band members that had voted in Winnipeg and taken to the polling station. The result, of course, was predictable. Yet, even though the chief was re-elected, people were looking at themselves and saying, how come? How could this happen? Well, for good reason. Too many elections are rigged. And this has got to stop. But where does it come from? Many people say it comes from us, our own people. But we know to try and organize and get together, this is almost an impossible task due to some Native leaders out here who put pressure on people to keep them from coming out to speak. So as I see it right now, the only way that it can change is Ottawa has to step in and implement these rules, following, of course, traveling to First Nation communities and speaking to the people and seeing exactly what they want with their elections on their reserve. Without this, not much is going to change, because we've attempted in the past to try and get together to organize, bring our thoughts out, and only be put down and discriminated against by our own leaders. So many of us have paid a very high price for attempting to do that. Loss of homes, eviction from reserves, denied everything the band has to offer. We do not need this type of aggression from our own leaders. So we have to start looking and speaking out, and Ottawa has to start coming to our reserves, talking to us, and see exactly what we want and implement these rules and regulations for band elections on First Nations, not just in select provinces, but right across the whole country. I'm Don Sandberg, and it was nice talking to you today.